Welcome back to Lambeau Leapers Live. I'm your host, Splash, Ryan, whatever the heck you want to call me. We're joined with Alex. How's it going, man?
It's going good. We've got a lot to talk about today. Whether the draft, we've got a signing that we just made, a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, is there a new sheriff in town? Is there a new QB1 in town?
The answer to that question is no. There is not a new QB1 in town, but we did sign a training camp arm. So there's that. That's just another guy. I'll say this just to get this right out of the way. I just recently said this on my story. On a scale from 1 to 10, this has 0 to do with the Rodgers situation. That's how I'll put it, basically. They needed a camp arm, and the reason they haven't brought in an undrafted kid or a young kid is because, what are they going to do? Are they going to have Jordan Love mentor a young kid, like a rookie? The answer is no. They need to have a veteran balance to mix with the absolute raw talent that is Jordan Love. He needs guidance. He needs all the help he can get, and he needs another pro who Blake Bortles, he's been a starter in this league. He needs somebody to look up to other than Rodgers, especially if Rodgers isn't going to be in these OTAs or whatever is going on in the mini camps and stuff. If Rodgers isn't going to be there, they can't leave Love out there and then have some undrafted kid who knows next to nothing about playing in the NFL. They need somebody that Jordan Love can kind of watch how he works a little bit. And that's what this has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. Literally 0. I can't stress it enough. Mm-hmm. Fans are freaking out. The media is going to run with this. The media is going to come out and say that this is the replacement for Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is gone. Rodgers is going to the Broncos, whatever. No, this is not the case. Rodgers is, as of now, he is our guy. He's going to be our guy until further notice. They're not trading him. Mm-hmm. So this is just, everybody needs to calm down. Look at the facts. They're not trading Aaron Rodgers. And that's really all you need to know. They're not trading Aaron Rodgers. He's going to play. I've made up my mind. So
absolutely. Yeah. I know on the main show last week, Frankie and I made a bet. We haven't decided what the bet is exactly, but I said the Packers, there's a 95% chance he plays week 1 with the Packers. There's a 5% chance he retires. And Frankie's convinced. For what it's worth, Frankie is convinced that Rodgers is going to get traded. I don't buy that at all, and I don't think Blake Bortles has anything to do with the plans. You're going to have Rodgers 1, and then Love's going to be your backup. And I have this tweet from Tom Pelissero: with only 2 quarterbacks on the roster and phase 2 of OTA starting Monday, Green Bay needed to add an arm or two, and there was a natural fit with Bortles, who spent time in a similar offense with the Rams and played for Packers OC Nathaniel Hackett in Jacksonville. You're getting a guy that is somewhat familiar with this system, and you need a third quarterback because you just need more than 2 quarterbacks on a 90-man roster. So
yeah,
I don't really buy this being anything. I love the memes. Absolutely. I did like a tweet that said, name Bortles a starter for the Packers already. And I'm going to like the meme that has Aaron Rodgers photoshopped in a Washington jersey or Packers in shambles. I love it, but
yeah,
but it's not. Nothing is changing today.
Yeah. So Aaron Rodgers, this has nothing to do. I'll say it again. This has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. Blake Bortles is, in every form, every sense of the word, he's a training camp quarterback. Mm-hmm. He is literally a camp arm. And they're not, I explained, they're not going to bring in a rookie to be the guy that's going to, they might even bring a 4th guy in who's an undrafted kid, but they needed a veteran. Right. Bottom line, they needed a veteran. People aren't going to understand it. People are going to think that this has something to do with Rodgers. The only thing it has to do with Rodgers is the fact that he's not going to participate in these rookie mini camps and these OTAs. They need another quarterback just for the reps. That's just the truth of it. And like Tom Pelissero mentioned, it's a natural fit. He's played with Nathaniel Hackett for 4 seasons, and he had his best season there. They went to the AFC Championship game, and he was the starting quarterback. That all happened there, and they're going to take a flyer on somebody, especially if it's a veteran. Green Bay's the type of team that will do something like this to get the most maximum value out of him, and potentially maybe even flip him for a pick if he shows something in camp or if he shows something in the preseason, and a team needs a guy that could be a starter in this league still. We've seen him start. This is a great, this is something that this is Green Bay's, this is right up their MO. This is what they do. And this has nothing to do with really anything except the fact that they needed a veteran and he's a great fit. Obviously, Mercedes Lewis, former Jaguar, there was familiarity there. I'm sure they talked to Mercedes even and asked him, what do you think of this guy? This is something that makes a lot of sense, has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers, and it's just a basic training camp move. It's just because Blake Bortles is a big name that this is gaining traction.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it's like, think of Tebow in Jacksonville. Signing a fourth string tight end is meaningless, but hey, Tim Tebow. Signing a quarterback 3, if you were re-signing Tim Boyle, who cares, right? If you were signing Brett Hundley, former Packer, who cares? Matt Flynn, who cares? But Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles is more of a meme than a quarterback at this point. There's a reason he wasn't on the field at all. I remember last season. There's a reason that he's out of Jacksonville after winning the AFC title. There's a lot of reasons why he is going to be a camp arm. He's not going to play. Jordan Love's going to be your number 2. Aaron Rodgers is going to be number 1. And we're gonna jump right into the Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it's really a debate. Both of us think he's coming back, but there are negotiations and significant long-term extension offer. What do you make of that?
Nobody knows what that means. I mean, Green Bay's the type of team that'll make it off. They'll make the offer look good on paper, but then it's one of those things. And Rodgers' agent is certain to know this, that it's probably one of those deals that might say $45 million per year, and it might have a 4-year extension on the whatever it is, but it has an out after the first year, or it has an opt out. Like, it has something. There's the guaranteed money stops at some point. Like, all that comes into play. They're not going to be able to trick him this time around with any deal like that. When Rodgers originally signed that last deal, he didn't have any concern about there being these guarantees that locked him in, because he knew he could just sign back and, he was going to be the guy. But when Jordan Love entered the picture in the middle of this contract, now he's concerned because he's afraid that they're trying to get rid of him. So now he wants them to lock him up for years to come. This is different as opposed to what they've done in other years. That's why they've been able to come to an agreement in the past. This looks like it's going to be tough, frankly, to get a new contract done unless Green Bay budges. Rodgers is not going to let this happen where he's going to be able to be moved on from in a year. If he's going to leave Green Bay, it's going to be on his terms. Well, at least that's what he wants. Green Bay's not trading him, but I mean, if he's trying to either lock himself into Green Bay, and if not, move on, because he's not going to let his future hang in the balance. And that I do not fault him for any of his thinking in the slightest. I completely side with Rodgers here. And I hope that they could get something done. It would take an ultimate change from Green Bay here to kind of make a move like this. And look, I want him in Green Bay for as long as he wants to play here. But I just don't know. It seems unlikely that they'd get something long-term done unless, and it's not impossible, but unless they kind of shied away from what they've always done with their deals, which is leave opportunity to get out of them pretty early. One thing I want to bring up here is from Pete Prisco from CBS. Just a quick touch back to the Blake Bortles. He says anybody who thinks the Bortles signing has anything to do with Rodgers is an idiot. So we'll leave it at that.
I love how blunt it was. So we have QB1 controversy, which is obviously going to bleed into the wide receiver room and arguably wide receiver 1 in the NFL. That would be Devante Adams. He's been on the record, I guess, saying how he thinks. So there's certain things that he wants, and the club wasn't so excited about it. And if Rodgers isn't the quarterback of the Packers, there's a chance Devante Adams might not be wide receiver 1. Again, we both think Rodgers stays, so this means Adams is just kind of posturing a little bit. But what do you make of Adams coming out and supporting his quarterback and, just supporting his quarterback, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that comment about, I mean, if you read this here, to me, it's kind of encouraging, like the idea that he feels, look, the only people we've known that have talked to Rodgers and actually commented on the situation are John Kuhn, AJ Hawk, Devante Adams, James Jones, and Mike Tirico. Those are the 5 people we've actually heard from that have communicated with Rodgers about this situation, and they've all expressed, positive things like about the situation. And to me, nobody knows this is the most unknown dramatic situation between a player and a team in NFL history. Nobody knows anything. As much as people would like to think, Adam Schefter knows next to nothing, truly. He knows next to nothing. And Ian Rappaport knows next to nothing. these guys don't know anything about the situation because Rodgers is keeping everything close to the vest as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And the Packers are maybe the most, Loctite team in the NFL when it comes to their operations. So this is certainly, when Rodgers said he didn't want this stuff to get out, it's the truth. And I still, we really don't know what the truth about what's going on is. I certainly have some guesses, and I certainly have some suspicions, educated guesses and things of that nature, but nobody really knows. With Devante, yeah, this comment should not surprise anybody. There will be a true domino effect if they were to move on from Aaron Rodgers, which is why they won't. I really don't think they will, because if they were to lose Aaron Rodgers, you'd start to see, they wouldn't be able to get the guys that they would like in free agency if they ever did that. Devante Adams really has no reason to stay. He wants to play with an elite quarterback. Rodgers is his guy. Of course, he's going to question things now. I mean, It makes a ton of sense. Not to mention, whether it's Devante, any guys coming up, with deals, nobody's going to want to come to Green Bay, the smallest city in the NFL. Nobody's going to want to come to Green Bay if Aaron Rodgers isn't there and they're not competing for championships.
Yeah, Green Bay's the weird spot that almost every other team, you feel like they have a future. They have something you might want to go to the city for. For Green Bay, it's quite literally just the Packers. And it's the title town, it's the star, Favre, Rodgers, it's the team, like Lombardi. It's a lot of the legacy thing. And if one of your Mount Rushmore players is saying, I don't want to be with the Packers anymore, that is not a good message for the rest of the. If you ever wanted to play for the Packers, that's not a great message. Because say the Jets are a horrendously run organization, but they play in the New York market. The Giants are a horrendously run organization for the last decade. They still play in New York. San Francisco, up, down, left, right, whatever the heck's happening, they still play in Santa Clara. So Green Bay is operating. I don't think Green Bay has as much leverage as you might expect the team to have in this situation, because Rodgers, I think, really is the franchise, and he is holding a lot of it together. That without Rodgers, what's the difference between the Bengals and the Packers? What's the difference between the Jaguars and the Packers?
Not much, right? I mean, the only leverage Green Bay has is that they own his rights for the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only leverage they have, is that they can't trade him. But in terms of, who's right and who's wrong and who's going to look better and Rodgers is, to me, Rodgers has every right to be upset. And he has, he's got all the leverage in the world to get what he wants. Not to leave, but to get the things he wants, just because of the domino effect that will arise if they were to somehow move on from him, or if they were to let him kind of, slip through their hands in any capacity. It would be, it's going to cost people jobs. It's going to cost, it's going to cost not just people jobs, but it's going to cost them true talented players. Mm-hmm. It's going to cost them, just about everything. You're going to lose any desire to play in Green Bay is going to drop for many players and just about anything, whether it's any kind of acquisition of coaches, players, whatever. It all goes away when Aaron Rodgers isn't there and you've got a young rookie quarterback who hasn't shown anything yet. It's just a tough situation, and everything's riding on this. I mean, they have to get him back in the building fast. The sooner they get him back, the better, because, as time goes on and the closer it gets to training camp and the closer it gets to these other dates that are coming up, as we get closer to those, people are going to start asking questions, and Rodgers can't hide forever, although he probably wants to continue to not talk, because I think if he comes out and says that he's just using his leverage, then he loses it all. If he comes out and says, I want to stay in Green Bay, but I have to do this, I have to say I'm not coming back, that's what I think he's doing personally. But, if he's going to come out, and if he's not going to come out and talk, we're just kind of stuck in this unknown aspect of the whole situation. And we only know what everybody's saying, and what everybody's saying, nobody really knows if it's true or not.
Absolutely. And, leverage is really his his point here, that he has his play, 3-time MVP, brought a Super Bowl to Green Bay. He has that. Does he have much else? Not really. Does Green Bay have much besides his contract itself? Not really. And Rodgers wants to have at least the illusion of he has leverage. He is keeping tight lips on the situation, because if I'm thinking he probably wants to stay in Green Bay. You know, he just has some things he wants to work out. And if you are ever in a confrontation with someone, you might say something you don't necessarily mean if you want to further that, further that relationship or get further in your field. And in Rodgers' case, it's have a little bit more say in the organization, have a little bit more here, be told when you're drafting a quarterback in the first round of the draft, have a say on who you're picking up in free agency, have a say when Jake Kumaro is on the chopping block, and I think that's what Rodgers wants. I don't think he wants out of Green Bay. I don't think he wants to retire and start hosting Jeopardy full time, although I'm sure he'd love to host Jeopardy full time, but that's beside the point. That Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, it's really the Mexican standoff, and they have finger guns. Because, what is Aaron Rodgers going to do? Retire? That's pretty weak.
He won't retire. He won't retire. He's a competitor. He's gonna play. I'm telling you right now, if he's not the type of player to sit out. He's not the type of player to alienate his teammates who are trying to win a Super Bowl. Guys like Mercedes Lewis, Mason Crosby. I mean, just a bunch of veteran guys. Even, some of the younger guys like Devante Adams, David Bakhtiari, you name it. All these guys are trying to win a Super Bowl, and they know that they can't do it without Aaron. And you're going to, guys are going to start calling Aaron, and Aaron's going to understand that he's going to come back no matter what. And this is, look, this may sound like, kind of a stretch or maybe too optimistic right now, but I'm telling you, Rodgers is not the type of person to sit out, alienate his guys. He'll win. He'll go out there. He'll play with his teammates and win in spite of what the front office is doing, in spite of how they're treating him. He'll do it just despite the front office. He'll win and force him, he'll force them to treat him right. He'll continue to do what he always does. He'll go out and win MVP again, whatever it takes. He's got the chip on his shoulder. He holds the grudge, and he's going to do whatever it takes to win. And in my opinion, as long as they stick to their word and don't trade him, which they've continued to say, under zero circumstances will we trade Aaron Rodgers. This all adds up to a reunion, whether he likes it or not. And he'll do it for his teammates and the fans and the city and the organization. By that, I mean just the team overall, in spite of the front office. And he'll do it for Matt LaFleur and the rest of the coaches as well.
Absolutely. And remember the last time Green Bay made Aaron Rodgers mad? He just rattled off probably the second greatest season ever by a quarterback, behind only 2011 Aaron Rodgers, at least by my estimation. Right. So if Green Bay's power card is just making Aaron Rodgers mad and he turns into the Hulk and turns into the best quarterback ever, that's a pretty powerful card as long as he's on your team. And again, we both doubt that Green Bay is going to move off Rodgers. We both doubt Rodgers wants to move away from Green Bay. But, I'm sure you'd take all this offseason controversy for Rodgers to win MVP again, or Rodgers to have success in the playoffs. I think 10 times out of 10, you're taking having these stupid conversations in May when in January you're doing live shows about the Packers going to the Super Bowl. So speaking of the Packers going to the Super Bowl, could it be on the heels of this fastest secondary in the NFL? We're going to jump right into draft talk. Eric Stokes down there in the bottom left ran a 4.25 at his 40 on his pro day at Georgia. First round pick, number 29 overall. Let me throw up the banner that I made. What are we thinking about Eric Stokes at 29 overall?
Some people didn't like this pick because it wasn't a receiver, but I think this helps the team immensely. And to me, and we'll get to the overall, to me, the overall, what this draft told me was, it was a complete 180 from what Green Bay has done in the past. They really drafted for need here. And I think it started, evident with Eric Stokes. He adds speed to the secondary, which it didn't have a ton of, and he's a complete speed demon. He'll be the fastest player on the field just about anywhere he goes. And that's exciting to have a guy like that, especially on the defensive side of the ball, to catch some of those guys that are increasingly, apparent in the NFL, super speedy receivers and things like that, the smaller guys like Tyreek Hill. Those are coming more and more. In this draft class, we had quite a few of them, whether it was Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney, a bunch of guys that had a lot of speed. Eric, to me, is a guy that he had a lot of production. Well, not a lot, but enough production to show you what he can do, but also was not targeted a lot. Very rarely was he targeted, and that's a good sign but and that kind of limits what people think he can do, just because he had some production, but not as much as other corners like Surtain and others that are in the top of this class. His athleticism is completely off the charts. He fits all those molds that Green Bay likes, and he's got one of those spectacular traits, that the speed there, and that's what made him made him the pick for Green Bay. And to me, he's going to be one of those lockdown corners. He could get out and do that right away. It might take some time, but that's why they brought Kevin King back, because whether Stokes is ready or not, they have King, who's been in this league and has started for Green Bay, so they're not in a precarious position either way. And Stokes, to me, is a great pick there to kind of give them a real chance to have two lockdown guys on the outside. I love the pick.
Absolutely. So I'm just looking at his relative athletic score. So he has had an unofficial 9.99, I guess, before his cone or some of his other stats came in. But he ended up with a 9.37, which we talked about on 3 weeks ago, right, maybe, that the Packers are going to go get their athletes, and he has a 9.94 level 40-yard dash, even if you factor in that, it's a pro day, so it might be a little too fast, or this 20-yard split might be a little too fast. Even when you factor that in, he's still a top-tier athlete. He's one of the best cornerbacks, athletes at cornerback in the last few draft classes. So you're adding another piece to this secondary that already has Jair Alexander, already has Darnell Savage, already has Adrian Amos. It's super exciting that you're going to have a super athletic defense. You're going to fly around, make plays. It's a division that Minnesota added another wide receiver. Detroit is Detroit. But Chicago added, hopefully, a quarterback upgrade if you're a fan of Justin Fields. And they have Allen Robinson still. But it's just the athleticism in that secondary is going to be awesome. And that's going to make life easier for the Smith Bros on the defensive line, Kenny Clark on the interior, and your random assortment of linebackers that'll play 16 games or 17 games because the Packers don't prioritize linebackers sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
like that
solid pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, I like that pick. Something like Frankie says here, he doesn't like the pick because of the timing. He says it could be a good player, but to me, the timing, people wanted a receiver, and I get that. I wanted a receiver. But you look at the overall team needs, and cornerback is much more pressing of a need in terms of not only now, where they could certainly use more talent, considering they brought back Kevin King and could use an upgrade, but for the future as well, because Kevin King's on a 1-year deal. And they also addressed cornerback again later in the draft. And to me, they've got two guys that are going to compete for starting jobs in the cornerback room with a chance to improve the position. And I'll tell you this, if Aaron Rodgers was looking for upgrades and to make the team better, this draft did that because it addressed the needs and it did it right away. Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. Jake here says, I still don't understand how drafting a corner like Stokes isn't helping A-Rod. To me, it is. And I think he understands that as well. He's not, he's one of the most intelligent. I mean, he is practically the most intelligent football player there ever was. I mean, he understands that a defensive player, after watching the NFC Championship game, I know he likes Kevin King, but he certainly understands that Tom Brady kind of picked them apart in the secondary a little bit, and a cornerback will certainly help that. Absolutely. I definitely think that he understands that for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those situations that even you can improve one aspect of the game, and not all aspects of football are isolated. So you can improve the quarterback position by getting wide receivers. Look at the Giants. They say, okay, we don't think Daniel Jones is that good. Let's go add Kenny Golladay in free agency and Kadarius Toney in the draft. So he's theoretically going to be better because he has better weapons. Right. Or you look at Cincinnati. They decided, we're going to make Joe Burrow better, but instead of improving quarterback, we're going to improve and get Jamar Chase, and we're going to go get Jackson Carman, who I guess is good at football, whatever. But there are a lot of ways to eat an elephant here. The Packers help Aaron Rodgers by making the defense a little bit better. So you, instead of allowing, say, 27 points per game, you're allowing 24 points per game. So you're going to win more games. Your offense isn't going to be forced to carry the load. You're not going to have to score 45 randomly. You're not going to have to score, like in the 2009 Cardinals Packers game, you're not going to score 45 and lose in overtime. Just every little bit helps. And I know Rodgers deep down might love Elijah Moore. He might have preferred to have have Green Bay trade up and get Rashad Bateman. Whatever the case may be, corner helps the Packers, and the Packers will fundamentally win more football games because they, had good draft picks. And yeah, they didn't get a talented wide receiver. They didn't draft one in the first or second round, but they got pieces that can be helpful to the passing game, whether it's indirectly through the offensive line or helping the offense by not needing to be on the field as much, not needing to throw the ball 70 times a game.
I think the offensive line, they really did a good job, supplementing the loss of Corey Linsley. The fact that he's gone, to be able to add offensive linemen, 3 of them that I really like. I think they added 3 guys that fit what they want to do. Starting with Myers, who's played a lot of center, he could be a plug and play starter. That's how good he's been. You got him, Royce Newman, who's played some tackle. He can play guard. They might like him at guard. And then Cole Van Lanen, the great story, who played. He's from the Green Bay area, and they drafted him. I mean, just to add 3 guys to that mix, a lot of competition along the line. I think they'll be okay. I really do, especially on the offensive line. But then you look at the receiver position. To me, they added one of the more pro-ready guys in the draft. Coming out of Clemson, a great program, obviously. Playing with a great quarterback, an elite-type quarterback. When I heard him before the draft talk about how he was a guy that, he wanted to come to Green Bay, and here it is. The Packers were Amari Rodgers' dream landing spot, and it's the truth. He mentioned this. He wanted to play with Devante and Rodgers. He wanted to, see what that was like, the practice, how they do it in practice. He mentions it here. That connection. He wants that with Rodgers, that Rodgers to Rodgers connection. And that's exciting to think about. He's a true slot guy, but he can go around all over the field. He could be the gadget type player, that Tyler Ervin role. He could do all those things. He's going to return kicks and punts. And I think he's a pro-ready route runner. I think he's built like a running back, but he plays receiver, which makes him a great fit. Despite not his height, he doesn't have that height that Green Bay usually looks at. But he's got that build that makes him just a complete and utter weapon that's going to do so many great things. I just think he's literally maybe the perfect pick for what they do in this offense. I think Rodgers is going to love him. He reminds everybody a lot of Randall Cobb. That's the comparison you hear. But his build is a lot bigger and thicker, and he's not to mention he really breaks tackles at a high rate. He creates his own yardage. He's a legit weapon. I mean, this kid is he's real. They wanted him in the second round. They tried to trade up for him. They chose the lineman over the receiver just based on positional value and importance. They went with the lineman. It makes sense. They wanted to go up and get him again in round 2, and they couldn't find trades, but he was still there, and they traded up for him in round 3. And they love this player. I think he's going to be the most impactful player for this team, out of this rookie class this coming season. And I think him and Rodgers is going to be special. They finally got a slot receiver. And that's, that's the one thing arguably that they're missing. And this receiving core now, with the additions of Funchess and Amari Rodgers, went from good to me. I really like this core. I think it's really deep. I like it a lot.
Absolutely. And he's taking advantage of the new rule. He's going to be rocking 8.
The only one that's so far.
Yeah. So I like it. As long as J.K. Dobbins doesn't switch from 27 to 2, I'm totally down with it.
Yeah.
If that happens, I might disagree, but
I like the one player that, like if Amari Rodgers is the only guy that switches this year, I think it'll be fun because he's truly a positionless type player for this offense, I think. He'll be returning kicks and punts. He's going to do all those different things. He'll be in so many different spots. Mm-hmm. Give him number 8. For a rookie, I don't mind it as much, but I don't want to see guys I don't want to see Devante switching to a single digit. Yeah. I keep it for the younger guys for now. The veterans should I don't love the rule in general, but I don't mind if one player, a rookie, comes in and does it for Green Bay. But I'm not a fan of guys like Patrick Peterson switching. To me, I just the veterans are pros and professionals, and I like the number. We've talked about this before, but to me, I like the professionalism of the numbers in the NFL. But a young rookie who's fun and exciting, give him number 8. Let him have fun with it.
Yeah, and my only concern, my only qualm with the whole number ordeal is that you can't wear 0. So I was robbed of getting a Rashad Bateman 0, and I have to get a Rashad Bateman 12. And I would have preferred him to wear 13, but Devin Duvernay wears 13. But that's beside the point. This is a Packers show, not a Ravens show. Although I need to do a Ravens show. Let's be real here. But Green Bay, helped strengthen the offensive line, and it's a good offensive line to begin with. You have an all-pro at left tackle. You have a Pro Bowler at left guard. And then the last 3 years, it's been 6 draft picks invested in the offensive line. Even if you're not getting like a blue chip superstar, Penny Sewell in the division, Darisaw in the division, Tevin Jenkins in the division, you have 6 bites at the apple. One of them is going to successfully eat the worm and have success here. And the odds of all 6 linemen just whiffing, I think, are pretty low. Would I have preferred the Packers to draft, say, Creed Humphrey over Josh Myers? Perhaps, but the Packers know what scheme fit they run. I just want to guess, So I'll bring up the full draft class. Is there any other names you want to touch on real quick?
Yeah, with the offensive line, I mean, the one thing to me that always stands out is when they pick these later round guys, they always seem to work out, and it's fascinating how that works. Mm-hmm. When they take a guy in the first round, it usually doesn't work, but then they go and dig deep for some guy who comes from a smaller school, and they make it work, and he becomes a true player. And, to me, David Bakhtiari is the number one example of that. Brian Bulaga was a second-round pick, but other than those guys, really, they've found some later-round options that have come in and played really well. So I'm excited to see what these guys can do. The Green Bay offensive line has always been a true staple in the league in terms of among the best, and also a true great room that they've always had that's been just very successful over the years, regardless of who's been playing. And to me, the fact that they brought in 3 guys is a great sign to create more competition. But then you look across the board and you just look at the positions. They went with the 3 linemen. They went with the receiver, the 2 corners, Shamar Jean-Charles from a small school, Appalachian State. A lot of production. Size is a bit of a concern. Some of that athleticism stuff, a little bit of a concern. But other than that, he's got a lot of great production, and he's a good football player. And Green Bay kind of went towards the good football players this year as opposed to the athletic guys who are, kind of just like a flyer on an athletic guy. That might be a project. They really went with some good football players to help the team right now. They needed another running back, and they got one late, and he was a bit of a steal, if you will. And then Isaiah McDuffie, the special teamer, add to the linebacker room. These were all needs. These were all positions of need. They did a great job addressing those needs, including that defensive tackle spot with TJ Slayton. I was happy with this class, very happy with this class, and as long as Aaron Rodgers is back, he'll be happy with it. And I think this is how we improve. This is one of those steps that we take in trying to improve a 13-3 team.
Right.
You add more young depth pieces in that can help right away, and I think most of these guys are going to come in and have an impact early.
Yeah, I remember we were doing mock drafts, and we had the one that we actually took Kylan Hill, I believe 5th round, 6th round.
Right.
And then you think, you can get him with the 4th pick left in the draft at 256. Are you kidding me? I think Hill can be. I mean, I don't want to say like a star running back, but if Aaron Jones is banged up a little bit, or if one of AJ Dillon or Aaron Jones is banged up a little bit, I think Kylan Hill can come in and be a solid NFL player. He's not going to be Derrick Henry, but not many people are Derrick Henry. So I think in the 7th round, I love the pick I think he was the highest graded pick I had. I had Amari Rodgers with an A as well.
Yeah.
I had Jean Charles. I had as B+. He was right at the end of my draft board. So as a whole, I think I'm beginning to like the Green Bay draft a little bit more. I didn't scout Royce Newman, so I had no idea. But outside of that, I think it's a solid class, and I think Green Bay, you can argue they stepped in the wrong direction with free agency, per usual. That's how the Green Bay Packers operate. Right. But I think they took a step back in the right direction with this draft. You have talented players. Would I have preferred Creed Humphrey over Josh Myers? Sure, but Josh Myers is a perfectly fine player. Eric Stokes is a good player. Rodgers is a good player. And like you mentioned, you got football players here. You didn't necessarily need to have, look at this flash. Look at this sex appeal. You've got, 9 good players? Can I count? Right. Yeah, 9 good players.
Look, I mean, I was excited to see them address the needs, number one, and also add good football players that maybe weren't, I was pleasantly surprised that they didn't just, hyper focus on the athleticism traits. Mm-hmm. A lot of these guys didn't meet some thresholds that they usually hold their standards to. And that kind of excited me because I thought, maybe they're changing their thought process a little bit to try to help the team now. And that's probably something Rodgers will like. And of course, if the whole thought process for everybody in this draft was, if Rodgers isn't there, this doesn't mean much right now for this team, the draft class. I mean, this season's kind of a wash if Rodgers isn't there. But, after, getting all through all these, these reports and all through the talk that goes on, when you kind of just sit down and look at how this is going to go, to me, you see Rodgers coming back, and once you kind of realize that that's truly a possibility and even a likelihood, maybe, that I think, to me, I look at this team and I'm excited for where it's headed. I like our schedule a lot. I think, our schedule is something that I think is kind of beneficial to what we're doing too.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're going to jump right into the schedule. I wish I had a graphic, but the Packers haven't really.
We'll get a graphic. I got a graphic coming up for when the schedule comes out. But we have our, we know our opponents, and we know, we know what, we just don't know every week. We know about, I think 12 or 13 of the games, but, we do, when you look at the opponents and you look at the way the schedule's shaping up so far with the leaks and things of that nature, I like where we stand. I like our schedule overall. I think we have a good chance to hit that 13 win mark, if not 14 with the extra game. And to me, I'll say this over and over again. I feel like every year when we have Aaron Rodgers in the NFC, at least, recently, we have the best chance to get that number 1 seed, as long as we take care of business, because you've got those other divisions that have a lot of competition in between them where they're going to beat each other up, and they're going to, they'll beat each other once and the other team will beat you. Rodgers, with this team with Rodgers, they'll probably get close to 6 wins in the division. And that's rare for any other division in the NFC. And that kind of separates them from the rest of the pack. That's how they got the number 1 seed last year. It's more valuable than ever, obviously, with only 1 bye. And there's a great chance to do that again. I think Tampa Bay has a great chance to kind of be in that conversation as well with the Packers for the number 1 seed, because that division got a little bit worse this year with the loss of Breeze and the Saints kind of probably, losing some legitimate players. So the Falcons are probably up and coming a little bit. The Panthers are trying to do some things with Sam Darnold. And, we don't know what the situation is, but I definitely think, when you look at Green Bay and the rest of the division, the Vikings are sputtering on, in all different areas. They probably are going to be that second place team this year, though. They've added, guys like Patrick Peterson. Their offense is still going to be, one of the guys that you're going to talk, one of the teams that you're going to talk about. The Bears are in a tough spot. They'll be kind of swimming around, I think, this year. They're going to be going back and forth between the rookie quarterback and Andy Dalton, with Nick Foles waiting in the wings for whenever he wants his chance. I mean, things are going to be sputtering there. They're all trying to, save their jobs. The defense, regressed with losing some legit players like their number 1 cornerback. So, there's certainly some aspects of the Bears that are certainly a downgrade. And then you look at the Lions, they've obviously downgraded at quarterback, but they've added some talent elsewhere. But to me, the division is so winnable for Green Bay year after year that I think they're in a great position to potentially get this number 1 seed again.
Absolutely. So they will begin the season September 12th, Sunday, 4:30 on Fox against the New Orleans Saints down at the Superdome. Are you excited for that? Do you think that's going to be a Packers win? We saw the Packers-Saints game last year with the probably even more talented Saints team, and Green Bay really took it to New Orleans. That was one of the best performances I've seen all year.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game. We're not sure who. Look, it'll probably be Taysom Hill starting. Could be Jameis Winston. Either way, I like Green Bay's chances. I think, Rodgers is going to be able to. If we talk about Rodgers, assuming Rodgers is playing, which we're going to continue to assume that he's going to be the quarterback. I love our chances against the Saints team. It's an exciting matchup because of all the skill players they have. They've got Kamara and Michael Thomas, and, the quarterback situation is the only real concern on offense there. But, their defense still has some good players, but I just think Green Bay is going to be too much for them. I like that game, though. It's two, legitimate NFC teams with a lot of fans. Hopefully there's some fans in the building. That's that's a rowdy crowd in a great stadium. So I'm definitely, that'll be an exciting game. Probably will be in that Fox slot with Buck and Aikman, assuming, the Broncos and Giants don't get it. So, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that one. And there's some other games on the schedule that we've heard too, but that's definitely a nice one to see on the schedule.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question here. Pick one home game and pick one road game. If you're only allowed to go to one home game, one road game, which games are you going to out of that set?
I guess it all depends on where the games, if it's maybe, if there was like a late season divisional matchup for to lock the title up, to lock the North up, that would be fun. But based off opponents alone, you always love that Rams and Seahawks. Both of those games are always fun with Green Bay. I expect the Rams to be better of a team though, and that'll probably be a more contentious matchup. So I'll go with the Rams at home, and then on the road, how can you pick anything but the Chiefs? I mean, that is going to be a fun matchup with Rodgers and Mahomes dueling for the first time. That'll be fun to see them go at their defenses. That'll be certainly a fun matchup. Probably going to be a Sunday Night Football game as well. Green Bay is going to have they've got 4 primetime games at home alone. We don't know about their road schedule for sure, but it's been reported that they've got 4 primetime games at home alone. So to me, that's, they're going to have some primetime games this year for sure, and the Chiefs is the most exciting one.
Yeah, you'll love to see it. And I'm not going to lie to you. I was just looking at the Ravens on that road, and I'm thinking, oh, yeah, he's going to say the Ravens. And then I looked down and
the Chiefs. Yeah.
Yeah, this is, there are some, I don't want to say easy games, but there are some games the Packers definitely should win. And there's a typo in the article that it says Vikings instead of Packers, which is hilarious, or Packers instead of Vikings, which is low-key hilarious. But
that's funny. Yeah,
I think sweeping anything other than a sweep against the Lions would be a disappointment. You should probably win at least 3 out of 4 against Chicago and Minnesota.
Right. You get 5. You basically mark up at least 5 against the division to me every year with this team with Rodgers. You've got 5 there. I think we beat the Steelers. I think, and these are just wins that right away. I think we beat the Steelers. I think we definitely beat Washington. And then you beat the Bengals. You beat the 49ers. You beat the Cardinals. You're talking about 8-9 wins, and that's just without the teams that are,
Yeah, and that's like removing the 50-50 games that you can beat Baltimore. You can, if there's any team that can beat the Chiefs, it's, Tampa, obviously, and then Green Bay, I think, is there. Then say you go 6-0 in the division. Say you beat the Browns because the Browns have to go to Lambeau. What if that's I'm thinking like week 16, snowing at Lambeau, and Green Bay has a great performance like they did last year against Tennessee, or there's a very solid chance you go 4-0 against the AFC North, as talented as the division might be.
Yeah.
You might beat all 4 teams in the NFC West. Again, as talented as that division might be, you can. I'm pretty safe in saying the Packers will beat the Cardinals, even over in Glendale, and the Packers. I think if you're looking at 12 wins immediately, more than 12 wins, you get into you're beating like essentially everybody. Fewer than 12, I don't know. The schedule comes out officially in about an hour from now. It's 6:46 Eastern. Schedule comes out at 7:45. Full schedule for every team. I actually don't really like the schedule leaks because it's coming out at a certain time. I don't understand the point of, they're going to play week 1. It's going to be Jets at Panthers. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's like, all right, well, now we move on to, we know the opponents. It's like we just get the week. It's like, okay, well, thanks.
Yeah. Or I guess we get the designation that it's like Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Because I know for a long time the Ravens never got Sunday Night Football games. I think they went from winning the Super Bowl, and it took until middle of 2019 to get another Sunday Night Football game at home. So that's ridiculous to me.
Green Bay gets about 3 of them a year. That's the thing with them. Yeah. With Rodgers, Rodgers gets all the primetime games that they want.
Are you kidding me? You get like Bears Packers every year is a primetime game.
They've got one this year. Yeah, they've got a primetime game this year. I think it's Sunday Night Football. Vikings Sunday Night Football, Lions Monday Night Football, and those are the home games. I mean, and they're playing on Christmas Day against Cleveland.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah, I mean, those are and not to mention all the the 3:25 Lambeau time Fox slots that they get. They've only got one game in terms of the games that have been released in terms of the home games. They've only got one. One of those games is at 12 Eastern or 12 Central. So that's that's they've got a lot of primetime slots, a lot of Fox slots. So that, I mean, they are the they're the NFC champs. almost the NFC champs, I should say.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got Rodgers, they got they're the Packers. They're always going to get the primetime slots.
Absolutely. And like, what's the worst game? It's the Lions. Oh, well, that's an easy pick for. I know it's not a Thanksgiving game, but Packers Lions is not quite Bears Packers, but it's second to Bears Packers. Sorry, Minnesota, but you're talking that's a primetime Thanksgiving game, or well, I guess it would be noon Detroit, but that's like a prime slot for Thanksgiving or random Monday Night Football because Detroit has to be on Monday Night Football, or Thursday Night Football because Detroit has to be on Thursday Night Football. Outside of that, what's the worst game? Like Pittsburgh, Green Bay? Are you kidding me? That's an awesome game.
Yeah.
Bengals, Green Bay? Like Rodgers, oddly enough, it's like sucks against Cincinnati. But that's
just any game where the Packers offense has a chance to play well is a game that anybody will want to watch, just like because of the potential to have, just a great performance, or like whether it's like a game with like the Seahawks where you've got two quarterbacks that are really good that you want to watch go to work. A lot of these games are like that where it's like the Chiefs, the Ravens, even the Rams. Like you look at those games and it's like, okay, we've got two great quarterbacks that have a chance to play well, and who's gonna have more success. Like and that's always fun. And then you've got the divisional matchups, which are so heated. The Packers games are always want them on the primetime games, and the networks fight all over for those. And
absolutely.
I'm excited for the schedule. I love the way it's shaping up. I like Green Bay. Like we mentioned, there's a lot of room for Green Bay to win a lot of games, and I'm excited. I can't wait for this year. We're going to have as good a chance as we've had. As long as we play well, we're going to have as good a chance as we've had in a long time to get back to that Super Bowl that we're so desperately trying to get back to.
Absolutely. And I think this is a great schedule to, launch you into that, launch you back to that number one seed. And maybe this year, again, I'm of the mindset that one play goes differently in the Tampa game, and you're playing the Chiefs and back in Tampa, ironically enough.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, we have all off season to talk about the ability of the Packers to get back to the Super Bowl. And I might throw $5 on it. Just saying, when I get some money back for my MLB bets, because I have $0.
You got to bet now. Yeah, you got to bet on the Packers now. I mean, everybody in the Vegas has them as the underdogs against the Saints in Week 1 because of the Rodgers situation.
Man,
whatever.
I made a lot of money betting.
You got to bet on it.
Oh, so Week 3, it was the Packers at Saints in the Sunday night window, and then Chiefs at Ravens in the Monday night window. And for some reason, the Saints were favored and the Ravens were favored. Those are two of the easiest. That's the easiest $600 I've ever made, because I parlayed those two teams. I parlayed Pittsburgh because honestly, like it's like a reverse jinx. Either I win money and Pittsburgh wins, or I lose money but Pittsburgh loses. So I'm like happy, I guess, either way, because I can ignore what the bad thing that happens. So I bet on like Pittsburgh. I think it may be a 4 or 5 way parlay, but the big hitters were Packers to win outright as the underdog and the Chiefs to win outright as the underdog. And it's like Kansas City came and wiped the floor. Green Bay came and wiped the floor. Like that's easy money. And if you want to make easy money, pick Kansas City over Baltimore. I think it's going to be Week 2, even though it's in Baltimore. But per usual, it was a pleasure having you on. Great show today. We got some Bortles talk, the boat, the best of all time. We got some Aaron Rodgers talk. We got the real A. Rodgers up in Green Bay now, Amari Rodgers. We got some talk about him. Went through the draft class, talked the schedule, talked. We're thinking 12 wins, maybe more.
Yeah. Maybe? I like 13, maybe 14. We'll see.
Yeah, or maybe you go do 2011 all over again and go like 16-1.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Imagine
somebody goes 16-0 and loses in the last week.
Yeah, imagine the conversation we would have next spring if you have a similar situation to 2011 that like Rodgers goes bonkers for 16 games in this season. You're 14 or 15-1, and then Jordan Love comes in against the Lions in a meaningless 1:00 game and has like 17 touchdowns.
Yeah, not the worst idea.
Yeah, and then Love gets traded to the Seahawks or some random team.
Yeah.
Oh man. So again, it was a pleasure. Make sure you follow Alex at Lambeau. Is it at Lambeau.leapers? I got it this time on Instagram. Join the discussion on the U Stadium app. You can follow us on Google Play. You can get us in the Apple App Store. Follow U Stadium at U Stadium on Instagram and Twitter. You can hit me up if you want to. I'm pretty boring, but whatever. So we'll be back next Wednesday. Might have some schedule, like actual predictions here with the schedule released. We're going to talk some camp and we're going to talk about how Blake Bortles, is going to be slinging it around at camp, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a fun next few months. So any last words before we end the broadcast?
Yeah, just go Pack Go as always. Everybody relax. As Aaron Rodgers always likes to say, let's relax and enjoy the off season and assume, let's assume Rodgers will be there. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I can chill out in my Packers socks now that I'm home. So they're really comfortable. Like I haven't opened them. They're still like the tag, but these feel really comfortable. So I'm gonna go put these socks on, and I will see you guys and see you, Alex, next week. Peace.